Let's finish off an absolutely magical night with a production feature race. Go, we're racing. Chris Pagel on the inside. A bit of push and shove, and let's exchange a bit of panel work. Number 18, Bryce Bayfield, though, wins that little encounter. So Bryce Bayfield, Chris Pagel, Dan Henshaw, Sarah Franz. Next one through there will be Hayden Turner. That's the way they head around the top corner as Bayfield moves a little high on the racetrack. Sarah Franz in trouble in the 36 car, allowing the others to go by. So Bryce Bayfield, Chris Pagel, Daniel Henshaw, back then to Aaron Sander. Sander behind him is Hayden Turner on the outside of Terry Grant. Race leader giving Chris Pagel a little bit of a sniff one more time to the top corner. And again, plenty of biff and barge. Front row field, Bryce Bayfield leads into the hairpin corner. Drifts a little wide, Chris Pagel not too far away. Back then to Daniel Henshaw, Aaron Sander. Next one through is Terry Grant in front of Hayden Turner. That's the way they head around Pagel's corner one more time. Bryce Bayfield still there. Bryce Bayfield to the better of Chris Pagel, Daniel Henshaw, Aaron Sander, Terry Grant. Next one will be Hayden Turner. Back then to the 71 car of Stephen Spence. Into the hairpin one more time. Bryce Bayfield has got to keep it online because Chris Pagel has another little look down on the inside. Pagel is still there. Little nudge. Here I come, he says. Bryce Bayfield can't close the door. Has to allow Chris Pagel through. Pagel and Bayfield come together heading up the main straightaway. Pagel the race leader. Bryce Bayfield, Daniel Henshaw, Aaron Sander. Those four settle down to fight it out. Terry Grant would be the next one with Hayden Turner trying to drive around the outside of him. Chris Pagel back to Bryce Bayfield. Dan Henshaw, Aaron Sander, Terry Grant. Behind him, Hayden Turner, then Dan Cook. Will stick with our front four cars. Chris Pagel has opened up a little bit of a lead. Back to Bryce Bayfield, Dan Henshaw, Aaron Sander, Terry Grant to the better. Hayden Turner, Dan Cook goes by. So does Darren Reed. Steve Spence. Then we're back with our race leader. Half the race distance completed for Chris Pagel. Pagel down the back chute he goes. Bryce Bayfield, Dan Henshaw, Aaron Sander. A bit of a gap goes back then to Hayden Turner, who can't get the car to go round the hairpin. Now it's right, and Hayden Turner back there in position number 5. Terry Grant in front of Dan Cook. The 17 car of Darren Reed and Stephen Spence. Then we're back with Chris Pagel. Under the tower he goes. He's opened up a little bit of a lead. Back to Bryce Bayfield. Bayfield drifts a little high on the top corner. Dan Henshaw not too far away. Right on the tail. In fact, Bayfield has struck a problem and heads into the pit area. So Chris Pagel, Dan Henshaw, Aaron Sander. Next one through will be, that's Hayden Turner, but they've spread out a little bit through the hairpin corner. Chris Pagel, under the tower he goes. Dan Henshaw, Aaron Sander. Next one behind him is that of Hayden Turner to the better of Terry Grant. Back then to Dan Cook in front of Darren Reed. Steve Spence in trouble, getting out of the hairpin corner, allowing Chris Pagel to put a lap on him, and he's opened up a fairly commanding lead back to Dan Henshaw. Down the back chute, one in trouble then in the hairpin corner was the 44 car of Terry Grant. Back to Chris Pagel. Dan Henshaw has now got Aaron Sander very close behind as they go round the top corner. Steve Spence is the car in front. Lapped car, Dan Henshaw moves to the inside. Aaron Sander gives him a little nudge. I'm here. Under the tower they go. Back to Hayden Turner. Next one would be Dan Cook to the better of Darren Reed. Terry Grant in the 44 car. Maybe some tyre problems right at the end of this one for him as Chris Pagel, he's got 2 laps to go. Around Pagel's corner he goes. Heads down the back chute. Chris Pagel to the better of Dan Henshaw. Back we go to Aaron Sander and Hayden Turner as the white flag is shown. So Chris Pagel is half a lap from home. Chris Pagel down the back chute into the hairpin for the final time. And Chris Pagel will take out the Production Sedan feature race. Checkered flag time. Daniel Henshaw, Aaron Sander. Hayden Turner completes the journey. Dan Cook will be the next one in front of Darren Reed. Terry Grant completes the journey as well. How about that, folks? Put your hands together for him. Chris Pagel, too good, another feature race win. Chris Pagel, Dan Henshaw, Aaron Sander. Well, folks, thank you very much for your attendance here tonight. It's been wonderful having you. Remember, the 28th of December is our next race meeting here. It's the Super Sedan Summer Slam, and all the stars will be back. Mod Lights take up the action here on that night as well. Drive safely. We'd love to have you back here on the 28th of December. If you're still there, give him a cheer as he goes by. Chris Pagel, feature race winner in the Productions here tonight.